Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is CMG TALK. This is Catherine Gallagher, depending on what time you're joining me at. And I want to say welcome and thank you so much for your feedback, your information, and also for acknowledging some of the episodes you're really enjoying. It's always good to get feedback. And I've had comments on the resilience one. That seems to have gone down well. Procrastination. A lot of people have said, yeah, that's me. And I've also had comments on the one I did on masking. That seems to have been really quite insightful for some people. And I've also had people commenting on the 12 different types of archetypes and loss and grief. That seems to have gone down well. And people quite like Maslow's behaviour are human needs, basic needs. So it's good to hear that people are really going back and listening to the episodes and really enjoying them and getting a lot from them. And please do feel free to continue to do so, because the episodes are there for you to revisit and constantly review. And remember to like, share and download. It's how the Spreaker, the platform, and Spotify, Amazon, all the other platforms, it's how they recognise if a podcast is performing well, and then adverts then will then sponsor, and it allows podcasts to continue. And my main concern is to make sure I'm providing good service and that people are enjoying the podcast. Today I'd quite like to talk about what happens when things don't go to plan. The best laid plans, as they say. And often people will talk, won't they? In life we find that we set these plans down, and then life is a way of coming. And sometimes life seems to pop up, then sometimes other things. People can get in the way, sometimes events happen, and we think we're going along quite nicely, and then suddenly they don't come in once. We can have 2 or 3 different things that happen, and we feel it's overwhelming and it's too much to cope with. And it's often a whole series of different types of things that seem to happen to us. And it's very common, whether it's training or coaching or whatever I'm doing, it's very common for me to hear people talk to me. They might say to me that, they might have relationship, issues or financial difficulties, or they might find they've got work pressures and, stresses at work, or, might have face different types of challenges that they're facing. And it seems to be, it's not just one, it's 2 or 3, or a combination of different types. And they're trying to juggle caring responsibilities, maybe for elderly parents or people at home that are unwell, or their own health problems, and maybe financially, or trying to manage and juggle all these different responsibilities. And sometimes they'll tell me that they lose perspective. It just seems to be that they become all-consuming. They're overwhelmed and it's all-consuming. And they ask themselves, what more can happen? I was doing a training a couple of months ago, and one of the polls that we put up was very much about that. Do you ever question, how long this will happen, how long will this go on for? And it rated exceptionally high. People were questioning, will this ever come to an end? Will I ever see the end of this? Will I ever get past this? And logically we know this will pass. Things will get better, will change. Sometimes small changes make a big difference, and you will hear me say that a lot in the episodes. Small changes do make a big difference. And sometimes the changes we make come from within us. But sometimes the changes we need to make for us to feel better within ourselves, for it to be healthier, sometimes we don't want to make those changes. Maybe because the impact on ourselves or other people are too great. Maybe the risk there is too great. Maybe we fear making those changes because of the implications of the impact. You know, if I make those changes, what if the person leaves me? What if it causes too much upheaval? What if it seems I can't cope at work? What if? Anybody that's had multiple types of events where they felt overwhelmed and it's all got too much can relate to what I'm saying, I'm sure. What makes it easier to deal with things is if we break them down. It's called chunking. If you break things down in small, measurable steps. What we tend to do is if we feel overwhelmed by one thing, we see everything. It's all too much for me now. Everything. But often it's not everything. It's certain things. And if you start then breaking it down and looking at what exactly, is it what one person, or is it one particular aspect at work, or is it a relationship? Is it finances in general, or is it particular types of finances? Is it particular bills? Is it Visa? Is it utility bills, or is it a utility bill? If you break it down and start looking at small measurable measures, small steps. When I used to help oversee, and I managed and ran a benevolent fund, I oversaw it in my area, and when people came to me with financial debt and struggling financially, one of the biggest things that we faced was procrastination, putting off, avoidance. And people used to come often with black bags full of bills, masses of debt. And I used to say to them, empty the drawers into a black bag and bring the bags with you and go and get some clear plastic folders. Do even the small, the ones that are like flimsy ones, and they don't have to be hard covered plastic. And what we're going to do is we're going to start sifting things. Right? We're just going to start putting things together, sorting it out. Because no amount of wishful thinking is going to magically make these things work out. And then we put a system in place. Order. We're going to get order here. And we're going to put a system. And then we're going to go by rules of thumb. Out of sight, out of mind. And when we're dealing with something, when it's out of sight, out of mind, that's not working. That's not good. When we avoid and procrastinate, all we do is build up. And we build up stress and pressure and anxiety. So what we need to do is we need to find a system to start chipping away and working away. Sometimes people say, what do you know about it? I've spent sometimes 25 years chipping away at things. I've worked through chipping away at one particular item. It took me 25 years to clear off. And I did it. And every month I counted down. From 25 years, I counted down every month until I eventually cleared it off. That's a long time. But I kept the eye on the ball. I knew exactly what I was doing. So when people talk to me about things, it's not like I'm saying things that I haven't went through and know and have an understanding. And that's the thing. When we're talking about things, sharing things, whether it's you, whether it's me, we have to have that compassionate listening. We have to have empathy. We need to understand the emotion behind it. Because judgy ways of thinking and being, people shut down. They don't listen. So if we have a system in place where we understand that it's not about beating ourselves up, it's about understanding that what we've done is try to protect ourselves. But we understand that it's not working for us, that it's not helpful, and that we're going to do something more helpful, and we're going to get back some level of control. That's right. We're going to gain a system, regain control, and we're going to feel as if we're in front of it. We're taking back the control. And that's really what we need to do. Being overwhelmed, feeling out of control, feeling things are on top of us, we need to break down, and we need to chunk things down and put systems in place so we can start managing things more clearly. So that's one way of dealing with it. The other way is also bringing in resources. So if you don't know or understand it, if it's not your field of expertise, if you're the novice and you're not a financial expert, there are people that can help you, and a lot of people don't charge. Right? There are services that will help you do this, and will do it for free. They help you put systems in place. If you go to your banks, they'll often help you. If you go to places like in the UK, we get Citizens Advice. There are places that will help you break it down, and they are kind, they are compassionate, and they're non-judgmental. The most important thing is to talk to people, because if you bottle it up, all you have is your own perspective to worry and stress on, and it becomes really unhelpful. So talk to people that will understand, or people that will be thoughtful and caring, that won't panic, and that will say, okay, how can I help? How can I help? And often the help is being supportive, being caring, understanding that you just need to know that you're not alone. So getting a system, writing things down, having one place to log and document things so you can refer back to it. Because our brain processes the written word different from the thinking word and having things in your head. And it's better to declutter your short-term memory, which is your here and now thinking memory, and put things down and write it out rather than keeping it in your head. Clear your head. Get it down in writing and put it in a reflective journal. Write down your expenses if it's expenses you're worried about. And if it's things you're stressing about, write it down so you actually can see it more clearly and you can start thinking about it in a different way. A thought journal, a reflective journal. And challenging how you see, think and feel about things. Those automatic negative thoughts that pop into your head. Challenging those negative thoughts in a nice, caring, thoughtful way. And when you start writing things down, and when you talk to other people that you trust, that are kind and caring, that won't judge you harshly, then you're halfway there. And whether it's like in work, you're talking to people, whether it's talking to a trusted family member, neighbour, or a specialist that has the expertise, whoever you're speaking to, make sure it's people that are around you, that are solid people that will give you the right support. And then you need to pause and acknowledge and give yourself that validation, because that takes a lot to take those steps. So you have to appreciate and acknowledge that you've done that. There are professionals like myself that you can reach out and speak to as well, that give you safe, confidential spaces to talk things out to. And put in the tools, the breathing techniques, the mindfulness where you're not overthinking, catastrophizing, you're staying with what you know. You can do and use apps, whether it's Headspace or whether it's 10% Happier or Happify or Balance, BALANCE. These are anxiety, stress and low moods. These are apps that have different tools to help you. Meditation, yoga, And when you do techniques like this, they are for life. They're forever. They're a part of what you do, just like washing, combing your hair, brushing your teeth. You incorporate them in a day-to-day, daily activity. And the more you do them, it becomes part of what you do. It becomes habit. So when you start thinking about being overwhelmed, overthinking, having things that haven't quite gone to plan, and understanding and telling yourself this is life. Life is like this. But just as much as I have had this period of time where things haven't quite gone to what I expected, equally, good things and good times will come. Because that's life too. This will pass. This time will pass. And if I hang on in there, I will learn, I will grow, I will understand more about myself, more about what's going on in my life, what I wanted, but now, more importantly, what I actually need to move me forward, to continue for me in my life's journey to be the better version of me. And I learn then and grow from that, and I build up my resilience and my tolerance then for the disappointments and struggles and challenges, and I will bounce back quicker. Because that's what happens. And the older we get, the more we realise and appreciate that. We don't sweat the small stuff as much. We realise that these things do happen, and that we can either get really stressed out about the small things, or we can get stressed out about things that happen, or we can take them more in our stride. Because some things that are out with our control. And sometimes we have no control over other people's behaviours, what other people do. We might feel disappointment and hurt if people betray us. They break our trust. They disappoint us. We can either choose to forgive them and move forward. We might not forget, because that's not necessarily always wise. Especially if we want to be mindful to make sure that lessons have been learned by them as well. If they've apologised, if lessons have been learned and we're forgiving, we want to make sure that those patterns of behaviour aren't repeated. So that's why we don't often forget. Certainly not that easily, that quickly. What we might do is, it might not always be in the forefront of our memory, because time passes and more experiences happen, and the person builds up our trust, our confidence and our belief in them as they prove that they are more reliable, dependable for us, to us. And if they don't, well, that's a choice then, whether we still have them in our life, whether we're still available to them as much. Whatever happens to us that causes us to feel overwhelmed, that causes us maybe to feel a sense of stress or anxiety, could be something that's happened that we didn't expect, that's caught us off guard. It could be we felt deeply let down or hurt. It could be that we're questioning our own belief, our own abilities because of what's happened. We have to put it where it belongs. Because sometimes things happen to us, not because of us, but because of other people. It's actually about them. Why do we own it when it's not our stuff? Maybe they're doing it because they're projecting onto us. Maybe they're doing it because they're jealous of us. Maybe they're doing it because they're insecure. Maybe they're doing it because they want something we have. It's not always about us. Sometimes we feel that it says something about us. Why would they do this to me? Why would this happen to me? And it affects our confidence, our self-esteem. It affects how we believe about ourselves, what we think of ourselves. Sometimes when I work with people or I'm doing trainings and they might talk about a particular example, and the question often invariably comes up, why? I remember being told myself, because I can. Because I can and because I could. That's why. And if you tell anyone that, a lie, 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 deny, deny, deny. That's why. People sometimes do it for power, status, control, envy, jealousy, insecurity. It's not about you though. That's about them. That's about them. Why do we then think it's about us? Well, often it's because if we're a good person, we're a caring, compassionate, considerate, thoughtful person, we look an introvert. We internalise, don't we? We introspect within ourselves and say, what is it? Because we're trying to learn. What is it about me? What is it that's going on with me? Is there something about me that I need to know? And sometimes the answer is no. And sometimes what we need to do is we need to be more aware, more mindful, and more intuitive. There's intuit here. We need to be, just because someone's behaved this way, does that mean that I need to then not be me? Not still be my caring, compassionate, considerate, thoughtful, charitable person? Do I need to then become more critical, more judgmental, harsher to protect myself? Or can I still be me? It's just maybe I need to choose wisely. Maybe I need to trust wisely, give wisely. If I'm overly trusting, because trust has to be earned, does it not? And sometimes what we think ought to be ours, someone else decides, well, it's not yours. It's not a given. If you don't get that promotion, well, maybe we don't get the promotion because the organisation is the one that chooses, because it's their decision. We might think it's ours, might have been told it's ours, but ultimately the person that makes the decision decides if it is. But then that can ultimately affect our confidence and our self-esteem. But we need to take back control. With all of the things that happen to us, we need to come back to our inner core, our inner self, and remind ourselves about our own worth, our own value, our own self-respect, our own self-esteem. That's really what it's all about. Reminding yourself of, who am I? Despite what this has happened, despite this event, despite this situation, I'm still me. I'm still who I am. I'm still this person, regardless. It's keeping to your inner core. We have a choice of whether we become affected by what's happened to us. And sometimes people will say that, won't they? Well, I've heard people say that. After these experiences, it really affected me. I became jaded. I became angry. I became disheartened. And then sometimes people say to me, I won't let it win. I won't become that person because I'm still me. But it doesn't mean to say that I won't change in some way, Maybe I'll protect myself more. Maybe I'll be wiser more. Maybe I'll be more able to understand, to see, to notice, to be aware. But fundamentally, I'm still going to be who I am. Maybe that person, that situation, that organisation, that employer, maybe that customer, maybe I can choose not to have them, or maybe I'll be less influenced by them, or maybe I'll give less investment to them. But right now, I need to heal, I need to recover, I need to grow, I need to figure out what's right for me, but I can't afford not to still invest in me, be the best version of me. I need to make this work for me so that I don't lose my sense of who I am. Because often when we have a whole series of events, whatever has happened to us, we have our inner core, our self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem shaken. That's why people say, I feel I've been shaken to the core. Because it's affecting our core of who we feel we are. Get back to our core. When we become grounded and reconnect with who we are, our core, that's what you hear me talking about, our core beliefs, our core values. When we really start connecting back to who we are and know that we're still on our journey, we're still looking towards being our best version of ourselves, and we can use these experiences to grow, to become our true version of ourselves. Whatever's happened, we can get something positive from it. Even if we've lost someone, we can learn and take all the learning, all the growth, all the life lessons that they've shared with us. We might say, well, the fact that this person's, left too soon, in my eyes, I can live my life to the fullest. They've inspired me to do certain things. We can get something positive. And often that's what people want. They want to know their legacy is that people will have been inspired by them, will have learned something important from them. If we've had a work situation and we're disappointed, or we haven't got something we thought we would have, or we're having to leave an employment for whatever reason, we can take something from that. If we've got health challenges, how do we deal with that so that we can still be able to move forward? It's always about, how do I regain that centre, core part of me? My self-respect, my self-confidence, my self-esteem. How do I get back to that? Reconnecting. Reminding yourself of your worth, your value, your strength, your resilience. Because it's there. We just have to tap back into it. Getting back to our core. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. I look forward to connecting with you again. Take good care, and until next time. There is a few topics I've been asked to speak about, so interesting topics, stay tuned.